So let's get started. People, explain why non-financial indicators are particularly useful for public sector organizations. Illustrating your answer with brief examples relevant to BLA. We say the non-financial performance indicators are useful, especially in the public sector organization. What are the reasons that we gave? Let's hear the reasons, please.
Because there's no profit motive.
Okay. Lack of profit motive. Yeah. So we don't have profit measures here. No profit motive, no profit measures. Is it true that there's no profit measure in BLA? Is this true?
Yes, it's true.
Which statement? Which statement is telling us that? Is there a statement showing that making a profit here is not a key goal?
Okay, it says that it obtains revenue from all the recycled waste, but this only just covers the cost of running the recycling facilities. So they don't make profit. The money they receive, it just goes and covers the running of the recycling facilities.
Okay. Good. Another one, have you seen what I've highlighted there? Have you seen what I've highlighted there?
Yes.
Yes, we have.
Yeah, so there's no profit motive and no profit measures. So therefore, since that is not their core objective, then you need to switch to non-financial performance indicators. There was a hand which was up. There was a hand which was up.
No, my comment was, I was going to say that the main objective for public sector is normally to give a service to the community.
Yes. So these are service organizations. So that is one point. The second point, what is the other point that you can mention here?
BOA has multiple objectives, which are non-financial.
It has several objectives, and for us to cover these objectives, we need to go non-financial. Yeah, several objectives. What are some of these objectives here? There we go. So to capture, these are non-financial in nature. Most of these objectives are non-financial in nature. And to capture all these, we need to look at the non-financial aspects. Okay. The third point.
Financial constraints.
The financial constraint. Yeah. Financial constraint. So meaning that, and we are told here about the financial constraint, which is here. because of the recession. And time and again, that's the major aspect or the major issue in this type of organizations. Okay, if you wanted to add, what's another one?
Even if we are to use the non-financial measures such as cost of collecting the garbage or the cost of collecting the garbage per household, it will be difficult to measure generally the cost per unit of the service, because the cost attached just covers the essential part only.
What are you going to use as your costing unit? Financial performance indicators, you need to identify the cost unit, such as the kgs, tons, yeah, so those are fireworks in our, we've got some Chinese people next to us, so those are fireworks. So Albert was talking about cost units. Cost units are difficult to identify here. For you to run the financial measures properly, we need some cost units. So Albert was saying, what are we going to use as a cost unit? This is a very important point which you must be able to explain well. Yeah, I want all of you to explain this point well. What are you going to use as a cost unit? When you're working in profit-making sectors, the output of the work of a manufacturing company is very clear. But when you are going to introduce performance measures in the public sector, what cost unit are you going to use? So that's the challenge we're talking about. This question is common, and I think it's important to use some of these questions to prepare for an exam. So if you're preparing for an exam on value for money, this is one of the good questions to go through. Not only so we're saying that you don't only go through the question once, you want to go through several times. So each time you're studying a question value for money, instead of taking the textbook, maybe there's no need. What you need to do is take this very question, go through it again and again, so that we capture the thought. Okay. Let's now go to the next one. Explain how the value for money provision of waste service by BLA should be assessed by suggesting and calculating justified performance indicators using the information in the scenario. So this is a common question. What you have to do here is to explain how this is done. So the focus should be you explaining. Explaining what? The how of the value for money. But in the process of explaining how value for money is done, you can do some sample illustrative calculations. You can do some illustrative calculations. So this question is not really asking you to carry out a value for money assessment. The question is not asking us to carry out a value for money assessment. That's not the thrust of the question, that you tell us whether the service provided was value for money. No. Your duty is, you are a senior performance consultant or performance manager. And the performance manager should know how to use different tools. So here we want you to demonstrate, to explain to us how value for money is carried out, and then you use these figures that have been given to clarify your explanations. So then what is the starting point? The starting point then would be for you first of all to explain or to define what value for money is all about. So that's what we expect, that you're going to define for us what is value for money. So it's a performance management tool that we use in the public sector. And what is the focus? The focus is to evaluate whether the services are being provided in an economical, efficient, and effective manner. In your preamble, you want to very briefly explain what economy means, what efficiency means, what effectiveness means. You want to do that in your preamble. So in your preamble, you're going to explain, one, what is value for money? What is VFM? Okay. And then you want to explain the 3 E's. You explain the 3 E's. And we covered in the last class the 3 E's. We are saying that if we talk about economy, it's a procurement of the input, the major inputs. Did we procure the appropriate quantity and quality? Efficiency. How did the output compare with the input? Are we able to maximize the output for given input? We have seen that BLA had a number of objectives, and effectiveness is, did BLA meet the objectives? Effectiveness is assessing the extent to which BLA has met their objectives. Have they met their objectives? Is there evidence that objectives have been met? So that is our effectiveness, that is our efficiency. Okay. What of the figures now? Let's carry out, let's illustrate. So how do you carry out economy? What are you going to say? We say we're going to identify the major inputs. In carrying out economy, we are going to identify the major inputs. So let us identify the major inputs. Let's identify the major inputs. What are the major inputs in this business? What are the major inputs?
The workforce.
Excellent. So there's the workforce. What else? So to carry out an economy assessment, our explanation would say that we are going to identify the major inputs, which happen to be the workforce and the vehicles, and want to see how do we procure these. And illustratively, we have been given a staff cost. Have you seen the staff cost? The staff cost is here, it's in millions. Check the staff cost, guys. The staff cost is been given here, and it's in millions. For BLA, it's 110 million. At national level, 1190 million. The staff are here. So illustratively then, we can check our economy by looking at the cost per each member of staff. So here, we are going to take 110 million. 110 million. So take 110 million people, 110 million. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Then you divide by 3.5. Again here, you do the same. 1190, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Then you divide by 39,900. Please, can I have the answers from these two? Can I have the answers? So you're explaining how this is done. Here, BLA
31.
31.
428.
428.57. Okay. What of here? What of here?
29.
Huh? Is it 39 and 29?
I said 29.
29.
824.
824. That's okay. Just out of there, it's okay. There we are. So on the surface of it, BLA appears to pay slightly more, but this may not conclusively indicate that they're not economic or no. So we're going to explain that, for instance, these are the numbers or ratios we use for economy. Okay. And although this is high, we'll have to check, because a higher cost per unit may not necessarily mean that they're not economical. It may reflect that they want to motivate their workforce. They want to do much better. But it could be that indeed they are not economical. So the emphasis is you explaining how it's done, as opposed to you carrying out a value for money assessment. I hope I picked the idea there.
Yeah.
Let us, what of efficiency? Efficiency involves comparing outputs with inputs. And the idea is, ideally, we want to maximize our output. Now, what is the output here? The output can be looked at in terms of the tons, these tons of waste. This can be taken as our output. What is the input? The manpower, this manpower. Or it can be taken as the money that you have injected in, this one. So take the first one. If you divide this by that, how much tons does each employee do? 2 divided by 3.5, how much is that?
628.
628. What about national level? National level? So we are demonstrating, we're telling them that this is one way of looking at efficiency. Mhm. The other way is to look at these tons here of waste and compare them with this input. So how much are we spending for each one of these? So you take your 250 million. Please take your 250 million. $250 million divided by 2. And on this side again, you get your 28. Then you divide by 23. Please, let's find the cost per each ton. How many tons? The cost per each ton. Mm-hmm.
One, 1, 3,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 1,
3.
or 114.
Yeah,
Huh?
1, 1, 4. Around 4.
Yeah. So this is 114 per each ton. What of here?
1, 2, 3.
So all things being equal, what can we say? Here we are more efficient, isn't it? BLA is more efficient because we are saying to move a ton, 114. National benchmark is 123. So this is how we carry out efficiency. Effectiveness, we've got the objectives. Are we achieving these objectives? Are we achieving our objectives? Where are the objectives? They are talking about recycling and all that. Okay. The need for waste collection is linked to public health concerns. Public health concerns. That is one. Then the desire to keep the streets clean. And is there to increase rubbish which is recycled. So there are 3 objectives. How can we measure this? Public health. How can we measure the public health concerns? Public health concerns, how can we measure that objective?
I don't know. What of number of complaints?
The number of complaints can work, yes, from the public. That can work. What else can work for public people? When public health is poor, what do you expect? What are the implications? Why there's poor public health? What do you expect?
What of
Most
frequency
likely,
of waste collection?
Epidemics and the deaths from epidemics. Diarrheal diseases. So the outbreaks of certain disease may be an indicator, or the deaths, the number of people affected. If public health is poor, what we expect is the disease burden may be high. So the incidence of disease burden, the epidemics we have had, the outbreaks we have had. From the information given, yes, I agree that we can also use the frequency of collection. Yeah. Low frequency of collection. Low frequency of collection is an indicator of what? Of poor public health. Okay. Good. What of the other one? Recycling now. That one is easy because the data is there. Let's check the data. Let's check the data on recycling. They have been given a target. 40% is a target. Let's check how much is recycled. Please, can you do that? Total waste. How much was recycled?
43%.
23?
43.
43%. What of here? That over that. How's the percentage?
41%.
41%. So we have beaten the target that has been set of 40%. So this was the target that was set. So both the company and the national average beats that, although we can see that BLA is doing much better. Our local authority, BLA, is doing even much better compared to the national statistic. Okay, so that is the question there, people. Let's go to another part of our question. Which also was addressed in the last class. Discuss the difficulties of measuring qualitative factors of performance. This question has been repeated. Qualitative factors of performance. We identified the problems, that yes, there are problems, and also identified some possible solutions. Anyone who remembers? If we look at qualitative factors, what's the problem?
Subjectivity in interpretation.
Yes. Subjectivity in interpretation. What else did we talk about?
Sure.
These features aren't easy to record and even to analyze. And also, we spoke about capacity. We may not have the capacity or the skills for this type of data. Most of our information systems do not target this type of data. Okay. And the list also qualitative factors can be long, eh? Non-financial information. We can have a long list. And this is normally we normally refer to the issue of information overload. What are some of the solutions? Look at the trends. If you're getting responses, instead of getting responses just in 1 year, in one period, what to do is look at the trend over a long period of time. What does the trend suggest? That is one. Try scoring systems so that we convert the qualitative data into quantitative. Capacity building. You develop capacity in the organization. So this is an example of a question, people. And some of these topics are better learned just by looking at a question. Such that now if you took your notes or any reference book you want to use, you're using, you'll be much more focused now in what to look for. You'll be much more focused on what to look for. Okay. Good. So now we are going to make a move. We're going to make a move now to the next part of our discussion this evening.